Alrighty, I got a couple things to say to LSU, to Florida, and about the Saints as well in this very special mix of college and professional episode. So tune in for this one because this one's gonna be a doozy. Let's hit that intro, y'all.
When you say who that, then you know where you're at. You're in the middle of Crescent City. Well, say it loud, Louisiana pride.
Welcome to the Who Dat Weekly, featuring the Dirty Dev's finest, Christopher J. Spires. Welcome to the show, y'all. I see you, Jerry. Who Dat, baby? Not much to talk about the Saints today. The Saints lost 23-3 to the Buccaneers in what was a very lopsided loss to the Bucs. And it's kind of a shame because I guess we could go ahead and talk about them real quick. It's a shame that the Saints lost this one because watching the game today, the Saints defense had their best game, and it was quite noticeable. They had multiple stops, they had multiple forced punts, and they had a goal line stand. Like, you couldn't have asked for a better game from the Saints defense today. They showed a lot of improvement in their area, but unfortunately, as the same old saying has been so far this season, the Saints offense continues to be a lackluster starting effort, and it was a doozy today. We had, I believe, a combined 5, maybe 6 turnovers. It was not a good it was not a good day for the Saints. In fact, Spencer Rattler himself was benched, and it was not a good day for Spencer Rattler. He had probably he had back-to-back games where you had 3 or more turnovers, and that's just something you don't want to have, especially when you're a young quarterback and you already struggled the week before after a very bad performance. I would say compared to this week, maybe he did a little better if we're trying to be honest here, but at the same time, not so much. It's like you just can't start the game off by fumbling the football, giving the Bucs an opportunity to score, which thankfully they didn't. Or did they? No, they didn't. No. So they didn't. But then follow up on your next drive where you allow a pick six in which the ball was batted in the air. You just can't do stuff like that, man. And I know Coach Moore was emphasizing on trying to limit the number of mistakes on offense, and him pulling Rattler out midway through the third quarter was a statement by him. Coach Moore has had enough of the mistakes, and that's why we saw an extensive look at Tyler Shuck, who I will talk about in a minute. We just got a really good look at him today because, what else are we supposed to do? I mean, we got nothing else to lose, so why not play the rookie, see what he looks like? But overall, for the Saints, not a good day. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Tyler Shuck today. My immediate thoughts, and there's not a whole lot I can take away from this game. By the way, I don't know if y'all can hear it. I got the TV on in the background, but listen to the Green Bay Packers game the Packers and Steelers game in the background. So if y'all hear that, my bad. Going back to Tyler Shuck, I can't say a lot about him. I would say the thing that stood out to me the most was that he did look quite comfortable even while amidst under pressure. And would I say he carried that team well down the field? I mean, maybe his very last drive he did, that was his best drive, obviously. But there were moments where I'm like, not great. Like his very first drive was kind of a fluke in my opinion. He got picked off, but I blame that on Chris Olave. He did not secure that ball very well and end up in the hands of that Tampa Bay cornerback, and that wasn't very good. So, and then the following drive just stalled out, and then the very last drive he had was his best drive yet, but it resulted in no points. So, altogether, it was just not a good day. And I really can't overanalyze this game in terms of Tyler Shough and how he did performance-wise, because he only played a quarter and a half of football. I mean, and plus you're going against one of the NFL's best teams, so and the Buccaneers just gave everything they got at us, and it absolutely worked in their favor. So kudos to the Bucs, even though I hate you guys so much, but here we are. So the Saints the Saints have a lot of work to do. Now, I was kind of following up on the press conference, post-game press conference by Coach Moore, and he clearly is still not happy with the offense. I mean, who wouldn't be happy with this offense? This offense is horrible. Defense had a significantly better day than the offense. The offense is just pitiful. And I've been seeing the comment section during that press conference where you got half the fan base blaming Rattler and the other half saying we have no playmakers. For me, I kind of blame both. I'm kind of one of those guys that try to see the in-between. This is clearly the in-between. Rattler had a bad day. We don't have playmakers. I've kind of said this in my last podcast episode. We just simply don't have playmakers, and we simply just don't have a good offense, period. So it's like both things are correct. So that's really all we got here. It's just we just have a good day on offense. And what are you supposed to do when you're going up against a divisional opponent? And yes, I know division games can go either way. And I would say the Saints played better against a team that I was expecting them to absolutely demolish us. But they did play better than I anticipated. Defensively, that is. Offensively, not so much. Offense just wasn't there. Oh, man. Sorry to hear that you were there, Jerry. That sucks. But, you know, when I watched this game today, I entered with the mindset thinking we're probably not going to win. And that's probably the best mindset I can give to all Saints fans. I was just expect not to win. If we do, then great. We'll celebrate. But given how this Saints team has been all season long so far, it's not worth the headache of, like, stressing out over a game. It's like, oh, can we actually win this game when we know we're not going to win a game? Or if we do, then great. So that's kind of how I entered, and that's why I'm not overly upset about it, because I'm like, we lost. Move on. We're not a good team. Just keep going. So all we got to do is just wait till draft time, wait till next offseason, and see what moves we make by then. So, but we're not there yet. Of course, I'm going to still watch my Saints football because I still love my Saints. Die-hard Saints fan to this day. But right now, we can all admit they're not a good team this year. Simple as that. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and talk about some college football news. And y'all might have been hearing a lot of coaching hire candidates happening lately, especially revolving around Florida. Well, now another job has opened up, and that would be LSU. For all you LSU fans out there, you must be celebrating right now because Brian Kelly has been fired by LSU after 4 years, well, 3.5 if you want to call it that. But, so Brian Kelly was fired after 4 years technically, and let me tell you, it's been a long time coming. And look, I'm not an LSU fan, y'all know that. I'm a diehard Ole Miss fan through and through. But when the LSU made that hire 4 years ago, I'm like, what were y'all thinking? Brian Kelly was never that good. He was only good with Notre Dame because Notre Dame had a much more tedious recruitment requirement, and it worked out in his favor. But also, it still didn't work out in his favor because he couldn't beat good teams in the higher bowl games. Like he was there when the BCS was still the what's the BCS? Yeah, the BCS championship series. I think that's what it's called. Bowl championship series. Yeah, bowl championship series. BCS for short. Was still around. He couldn't win jack squat. In fact, anytime Notre Dame was in those championship games, Notre Dame would absolutely get demolished by an SEC team. It was like Alabama, or they might get demolished by another non-SEC team. Like any team that the Notre Dame teams led by Brian Kelly at the time they were good, but they weren't good enough to like win a championship. And so when LSU made that hire long time back in 2021, I think it was. 2021. I knew from day one that was a huge mistake. But of course, as you know, you LSU fans, you lie to yourselves, as you always do, saying, "Oh, Brian Kelly's a good coach. He's a championship winning attendee kind of coach. He's good enough. We got all the recruits and everything. We got all the money and everything." How did that work out? I said from day one, I still quote myself to this day. I quote myself to this day that LSU made a mistake by hiring Brian Kelly because he's an overrated kind of coach. He was never good to begin with. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad head coach. I'm not saying that at all. He was a decent coach, but he's not that kind of coach that's gonna get you an undefeated kind of season, or he's not gonna be that kind of head coach that gets you a championship. He's always going to be that head coach that is good enough to win enough games, to look good, look relevant, and then when the actual big games arrive, he's not there. And it happened again. Now, this year kind of threw LSU fans in a loop because they beat originally top-ranked Clemson, who is now unranked. And at the time, I remember LSU fans, they were celebrating. They're like, "All right, we finally won the week 1 game. Now we're definitely going to win a lot of our games." Well, how's that working out now? So I got to roast your LSU fans here for a second. But with that being, but anyway, so where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. So all I can say for LSU is that they definitely made the better decision to get rid of Brian Kelly while they still have a couple weeks left into the season. And they just need LSU just needs for me, I would love for them to make another bad hire. But at the same time, LSU probably knows that they should never make that kind of hire ever again. So I expect them to go all out and try and find the best coaching candidate to coach their football team. Because, LSU, for the longest of time, as I've been alive, has been a team that has been a pain in the butt to my Ole Miss Reds, but also one of the SEC's greatest teams out there. And they have printed themselves as a blue blood kind of school, to where they're always going to be in that championship conversation. They're always going to be in the relevancy conversation for the longest of time. Like, it's LSU. You think of LSU, you think of championships. You don't think of Ole Miss, sadly. I mean, I'm an Ole Miss fan. I've been an Ole Miss fan all my life. And you don't really think of championships. Like, yeah, we have championships, but that was like back in the 1960s, unfortunately. But still, like, you think of LSU, you think of future NFL superstars, future NBA, I guess future WNBA for those who watch the WNBA. I don't watch that crap. But yeah, like, you just think of all the great possibilities you could do at LSU, even when you're a football head coach. And unfortunately, that did not happen, especially with Brian Kelly. It was just never a good match to begin with. Now that LSU is available, that has caused quite a stir in the coaching search now for teams that currently are looking for a head coach. That would be Penn State, Florida, and now we're adding LSU. And if what I've been hearing is correct, Texas might be on that list eventually. I need to do a little more research on that because I only heard rumors, and usually when I hear a rumor, I have to do a little extra digging, so do not quote me on this. But what I've been hearing is that Texas is also might be losing their head coach, not because they're firing him, it's because he's thinking of leaving for the NFL, which is understandable. So, but I need to do extra research on that because I'm not 100% certain on that one. But what does this have to do with Lane Kiffin, my head coach? Well, as every single year that for a backstory, Ole Miss had hired Lane Kiffin back in 2020. He's officially been our head coach for 6 years running now. And unfortunately, Lane Kiffin has had a history of leaving a team too quickly to jump on the next big opportunity and it not working out for him. A good example would be his first head coaching gig was Tennessee. He coached Tennessee for one whole year, and then he left in the middle of the night to go coach for USC, which is technically a bigger school, and I would say more historic kind of school. Like they were one of the big at the time. They were one of the big dogs. They're not so much in this time period, but at that time period, they were considered the big dogs, and he jumped on the gun for that. So he left in the middle of the night and became USC's head coach. Well, he didn't last more than 2 seasons there because he absolutely stunk with them. So, and he lost his job to Ed Orgeron, ironically, and then he eventually became Oakland's offensive coordinator, I think. I might have that backwards, but then he eventually became Alabama's offensive coordinator under Nick Saban, where he was there for a couple years, and then he moved on to Florida Atlantic, where he became a head coach for a couple years, and now here he is as Ole Miss's head coach. But it's because of his early shenanigans from his Tennessee days up to his USC days. Every fan base out there in the college nation has thought, where is Lane Kiffin going to go next after one season? And that's just been the aggravating rumors that has surrounded Lane Kiffin ever since he got here. Because I kid you not, it didn't happen in his first year at Ole Miss because he just got here. But it was the year after that we started hearing more, oh, Lane's going to this school, oh, Lane's going to that school. The worst one, I remember, was in 2022, and Auburn had just fired their coach, and now this was legit because Lane Kiffin was seriously considering Auburn at the time. This was back in 2022, and let me tell you, the Auburn rumors, their fan base, they were just gung-ho saying, oh, Lane's definitely going to Auburn. He's totally going to Auburn. He's leaving little Ole Miss in the dirt. He's going to grand old Auburn, only to turn around and say he's not going to Auburn. And Auburn fans were so upset. That was actually quite a glorious day. But ever since then, it's been some random school over and over and over again saying, oh, it's Lane Kiffin to this school, Lane Kiffin to that school. How many more times are we going to hear this? Me as an Ole Miss fan, I am sick of it. I am just sick of it. Like, he's been at Ole Miss now for 6 years, as I just mentioned. How much longer? I mean, how much longer can this go? Now that Florida is open for coach hiring, now that LSU is among that list, Penn State, now he's not going to Penn State, he's most certainly not going to Florida, and definitely not certainly going to LSU. Why do I say this? I say this because there have been some factors that have made him change his mind that directly involved his near decision of leaving Ole Miss for Auburn. It's because of his family. His family made an effort to basically beg him to stay at Ole Miss because they absolutely love it in Oxford, Mississippi. They actually found themselves at home in good old Oxford, Mississippi. And I can understand that. I've been up there a couple of times. I love it up there. It's a beautiful little backside town, and with a beautiful university. And the fan base loves them there. And he basically built his own little empire in old little Oxford, Mississippi. Why on earth would he just uproot his family and his entire empire to move to, say, Florida or, say, LSU? It doesn't make sense. It just does not make sense. Plus, on top of that, Florida and LSU will both have high standards because they both won championships more recently than Ole Miss has. And I guarantee you, because I've seen it happen at Florida more recently, they had Dan Mullen, and they thought he would be a championship-level kind of coach because he did really well in Mississippi State at the time. But it didn't happen. 3 years after he coached for them, they fired him. Then they had some other guy, I forgot his name. He lasted 3 years, they fired him. And then Billy Napier, most recently, 3 years later, they fired him. Do you see a pattern here? Florida is not a good job anymore. Florida fans don't want to admit that, but Florida is not a good job. It's not a good job for anybody. You're just set up for failure in Florida. LSU as well. Yes, you LSU fans will definitely disagree with me here. I don't care. I'm calling it as it is. LSU will be Lane Kiffin's doom if he goes to LSU, which is I'm certain, but I know he's not going. I know he's not going because he made a mini documentary. Well, actually, ESPN did. ESPN made a mini documentary that of Lane Kiffin and his success at Ole Miss and what made him stay at Ole Miss even after all the Auburn rumors that were the strongest case of where he almost left. It's because his family wanted him to stay. More importantly, his own daughter, who ironically is dating with Weeks at linebacker at LSU, his own daughter was the reason why he stayed at Ole Miss. It's because of his family. It's not the money. It's not for glory and fame at a bigger school. It's not for championship reasons. It's because of his family. And I love that. Absolutely love that. But does the rest of College Nation think that? No, because the rest of College Nation, I'm sorry, are a bunch of idiots and morons and stupid heads. Like, I can't tell you how stupid College Nation is because they see Ole Miss. And they see... and they always think of us as a mid-tier kind of school. Times have changed since then. The NIL has become a factor. Ole Miss has been on top of that game for the last 4-5 years now. I can't tell you how many of the former Blue Blood teams, yes, I said former because they're no longer relevant in my opinion because of how the NIL has changed everything. You don't see your typical 5-6 powerhouse teams in the college football playoffs anymore, and usually it's like Alabama, Clemson, LSU, Auburn, Ohio State. Well, Ohio State is still up there, but now there's been a circulation of different teams representing in the championship lately. Like, you don't see your normal, typical powerhouse teams anymore. Now you're seeing these other schools rise to the occasion and actually fight for a championship. Like, it's mind-blowing how the NIL has changed things. And Ole Miss has wised up and is now a part of that, let me rephrase that, has embraced that change so well that now they're among that conversation year in, year out. We can thank Lane Kiffin for that, obviously, but at the same time, I'm just glad we're a part of this conversation where people just don't see us as, typical Ole Miss. They're just a nobody school. They're a typical mid-tier school that can't be nobody. We just took down Oklahoma in their own house. We never go to Oklahoma. In fact, this is only the third time we have played Oklahoma in our program history. We went to their house and we beat them. And they are ranked. And they are a good team. And they had the best SEC defense out there. Better than LSU's defense. Better than Georgia's defense, obviously. We just went in there and beat them. We're not the same Ole Miss anymore. We are so much better than what people give us credit for. And that is why, it's all because of Lane Kiffin that I think he's going to stay put and build that empire for the better and for the future. I just don't see him leaving. I just don't see him leaving. And anyone that disagrees with me, and they're too blind to see the reality of things that, like, hold up, let me rephrase that. They just don't see how college football has truly changed. They really haven't. They still see powerhouse teams and think, oh yeah, this school is definitely winning a championship. They haven't won one in years. And I'm talking about Clemson, LSU, Alabama, Florida, obviously. Like, I'm naming all these blue blood teams that have been known powerhouses for the past decade I've been alive. They are no longer relevant. Ohio State is, I would say, is the only team that has remained relevant among today's college nation. Now you have other teams potentially fighting for a potential playoff spot. Now that it's a 12-team playoff system instead of a 4-team playoff system, things have changed since then. And the NIL has a factor into that. And let me tell you, Ole Miss jumped into that very nicely. And all because of Lane Kiffin. all because of Lane Kiffin. So here's what I think will happen. Florida's not going to hire Lane Kiffin. They're going to hire somebody else. I don't know who it will be. My suggestion to them is James Franklin, who just got fired by Penn State. He's still a good coach. I think everybody can agree with that. I think they should hire James Franklin. For LSU, I don't know about those guys quite yet. That's still up in the air right now. I'm not sure what LSU's going to do, but I know for a fact they're going to try and get Lane Kiffin. I know that for a fact. But they're not going to get him. They're not. Because Lane Kiffin, while I love him to death, he has his faults here and there that might not be so attractive to LSU fans. And I truly think LSU would be better off not hiring him. And I just don't think, and plus on top of that, I don't think he would be a great fit for LSU because, as I just mentioned, LSU fans in particular will expect him to make LSU relevant within a year, maybe 2, and they're going to expect championships out of him. And that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. Besides, Ole Miss and LSU make sense more than hold up. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin make more sense than Lane Kiffin in Florida or Lane Kiffin in LSU. It does not make sense for either one of them. It just does not. There's just too much writing into this for Ole Miss because they know that they have a coach that's a hot topic in all these random coaching hires that this current circulation of coaching availability that's now prevalent. Like, they know that. And Lane Kiffin had to address his own players and talk about it. And I don't know exactly what he talked about. All I know is that he said that it's because of our success is why he's being talked about coaching for another school. And I guarantee it's going to cause Ole Miss to match any offer, and I believe they will match any offer that LSU will throw at them, or Florida will throw at them, or maybe Penn State. I doubt Penn State. I don't think Penn State's really interested, but I guarantee they're gonna find ways to match those offers. So, but let's go ahead and play the game. Let's go ahead and play the game of where Lane does leave for either school. And while I don't think that's going to happen, let's play this game. I firmly believe our athletic director will do enough, will do his due diligence in finding the proper replacement for Lane Kiffin. Now, who would that replacement be? I don't really know. But I would say Lane Kiffin would have left us in a great spot if he were to leave, knowing that whoever takes over as the next coach will be just jump right in, take over what he left behind, and then recruit his own guys, and hopefully he'll follow the similar steps that Lane Kiffin did. That's my only hope. Do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. I think Lane Kiffin is here to stay. And whether or not LSU fans admit it, they're not the program they used to be. They're not. No coach is going to want to go to them. Same thing with Florida. So that's just a tough reality for LSU fans. Like, they're not that top-tier program anymore. They're not. Same with Florida. Florida's not that top-tier program anymore. Nobody cares about Florida anymore. Florida has become the joke of the the joke of the SEC. LSU, not so much. They're not there yet, but they're getting there, especially after the last 3 or 4 years. So, yeah. It's going to be an interesting ride for these next 4 to 5 weeks and while I'm growing sick of these constant rumors left and right, I just know one thing. I trust the media sources surrounding Ole Miss very well. They have been the most reliable and everything. And, of course, ESPN is reliable too, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, anytime people are saying, oh, I have sources that Lane Kiffin was offered this amount of money, I don't believe them. Like, show your sources, bro. Show your sources. It's not that hard. And they're like, oh, we can't show my sources. Well, that means you don't have nothing. Simple as that. It's really that simple. So, anyway, thank y'all for tuning in tonight. I appreciate y'all tuning in this late at night. And I usually don't do episodes this late at night, especially college edition episodes. But But I felt like I had to voice my opinion out there and just talk about it. And looking forward to how the rest of the season goes. Even if the Saints suck right now, but it's all right. Talk about something else, like college football, for example. So, anyway, if you guys want to check out more content on my channel, I'm a diehard Saints fan. I'm not wearing my Saints gear today for obvious reasons, but yeah, check out my channel. I try to post as often as I can during the week, and I post mainly Saints commentary. I might post a few funny shorts here and there, but altogether, I do live episodes every week, maybe twice a week if I can. And yeah, so come and check out my channel. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe, most importantly. So, alrighty, gang. I'll talk to you guys later. Who dat, baby? Hotty toddy.